Well, this is our final best of list, and then we're putting it all in last year.
This is the Best of Ryes 2024.
Okay, if you've watched any of our best of the year, you know that we've got the methodology. We do a lot.
We do a lot, and we do it in our way, and some of you like it, and some of you think we can do better, but that's just the way we've done it, and here we are.
All that to say is if you want to learn about the nitty-gritty, we suggest you go watch our best bourbons, our top 10 best bourbons of the year, the de facto list. That's where we get into the nitty-gritty. We're not going to get into it with this one, but the only thing we are going to remind them about, Sarah, is that we do the blind scoring and then that double check.
That's right, and we average our blind scores too, because we are two different people with two different opinions, although I will say on the Ryes, I feel like we lined up pretty well.
Yeah, I think more so than the bourbons. So blind scoring in a vacuum, we have our top 10, then we take actually our top 12, pour them all up, try them side by side, the first 6, then the next 6, to determine what becomes the ultimate best of, and that's what we're presenting here today.
That's right, because when we do that A/B testing, things can change sometimes. I may have scored this one a 94 and this one a 93, but when I taste them back to back, I'm like, but maybe,
Yeah,
so
sometimes
it kind of changes things a little bit. You never know.
Right, I was gonna say, sometimes all it takes is the characteristics of one whiskey to bring out the flaws of another. So that's why we do that. Last thing before we get started here, this episode is not sponsored by anyone, but it is made possible by our patrons at patreon.com. We'll talk about them later. And those who support us at whiskyambitions.com. We'll also say if you're not subscribed to us and you want to get more content like this and just start off 2025 in the best way, go ahead and hit subscribe on that so you won't miss out on videos such as this and beginning the search for 2025.
That's right. Our subscribers support us too.
There you go. All right, Sarah, without any further ado, let's get into number 10.
Pursuit United Double Oaked.
Now, this is one that we scored 1 point apart in our own scoring.
Very aligned on that one.
Very much so. We're going to do some notes. I said on the nose, I got some honey and oak and an herbal quality, while on the palate, I got mint and dill, also herbal, nice hug, smoke, and jalapeno.
Whoa, okay. I mean, we both did get some of those like herbal gardening notes. On the nose, I said berry pie, brown sugar, cinnamon. On the palate, I agreed with you that slightly herbal, berry coating, char heavy. I said medium finish with Kentucky hug and that lingering herbal note.
I thought it was great. We got the opportunity to do double oak bourbon pick, and last year we enjoyed that very well. Maybe 2025, maybe we can do like a double oak rye pick. But yeah, break it in there at number 10, Pursuit United with the double oak. At number 9, Rare Character Limited Release Batch 1.
I literally just had to be like, wait, double check that does count, right? That does count. There was enough bottles of that released.
There was enough. Not a huge release, so some people might be scratching their head like, huh?
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Or maybe you just saw the bourbon, which I think they're on like batch 3 now of the bourbon, first release of the rye. And this is the first release. We're happy to see what comes out next.
Right, we're big fans of Rare Character. We did a couple of barrel picks of their Exceptional series last year, so true, yeah. We're always on the lookout for what's coming from them. For my notes on the nose, this one was really fun. I said raspberry or strawberry jam on toast. Okay. On the palate, I said a little funky with that toast note, a little earthy, some pepper. And on the finish, I got a little bit of that, what we were talking about with the Pursuit, that vegetal, garden-y note. Just lingering on.
Interesting. Okay. Going back, sometimes I wish I had written more if I had known that these were going to be the ones we were going to talk about in the episode. For the nose, I said savory and perfume. But I said more on the palate. On the palate, I said sweet, candy, sugars, lemonade, plums, mint, and pine. Sarah, I gave it a score of 93. Pretty good.
It's a pretty good one, yeah. Average score of 89.25. That's pretty high up there. At number 8, Sazerac Rye 18 year. When we did the BTAC episode, and based on how our bourbon list went, I really thought that was like my favorite rye of the year, and I thought I would have scored it better. I still gave it, a 90? I gave it a 90.5. I thought I liked it better than that, but that's still a very good score. You really liked it.
Blind? Yes, in a vacuum I did. 96.25, which ended up being, my top scored rye of the year.
But then when we did the double check, it still stayed around that same area where the average would have put it. The average score.
It started. And I think that's the 90 proof of it.
I do think that has a lot to do with it. Let's keep that in mind.
It's a great rye. 18 years. It's awesome. BTAC worthy. Come on. But the 90 proof, when you're trying it against other things, like I said before, sort of the flaws, or not really the flaws, maybe just the shortcomings. Like it would have been better if it was maybe just a little higher proof in our personal opinion. But
I'm wondering if overall, if it's not sort of like what we call the Four Roses effect. It's so different in both its proof and its age that it stands out to one end or the other. And maybe that's what happened here. But what did you say about it?
On the nose, I said a juicy bourbon.
Oh, a juicy bourbon.
I know it wasn't, but yeah. I said leather, oak. So there's some 18s right there. Light cherry, bam, and grape. Man, I'm just patting myself on the back because it's Buffalo Trace product.
Typical Buffalo Trace notes.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's enough. Well, then I got palate. I'll do palate. I said tropical, figs, grape, leather on the back end, sorghum, and oak.
Okay.
All right, what'd you get?
On the nose, I said dry rub and baking spice, almost like hot wings, which is weird. That's not what I said in the BTAC episode when we did it, but whatever. Okay. On the palate, I said, whoa, grape, earthy, herbal, spice, and oak, with that oak and spice and that earthiness on the finish.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like something that anyone would enjoy with those notes.
Hot wings is not a nose note that I have ever given before, but yeah, it had that like dry rub and like cinnamon or clove or something, and I was like, is this hot sauce? It was interesting.
It is interesting. All right, what's up next?
At number 7, Pursuit United Rye.
Okay, our second
standard rye.
Our second showing from Pursuit United.
Wow.
Here,
okay.
They did have 3 bottles in the presence of our rye.
So statistically,
yeah.
But that doesn't mean they all had to come in the top 10. In fact, all 3 could have not come in the top 10, and that would have been
this is also true.
Something.
Yeah. Sarah, what you got there?
On the nose, I said cream cheese frosting and carrot cake, with that carrot cake note coming through to the palate with zesty spice and char, oak and spice lingering on the finish.
For the nose, I said honey and brown sugar, vanilla and oak. On the palate, I said pine, fresh and clean, sweet, apples toasty, a long finish with oak and cinnamon.
Okay.
Yeah, and I gave that one a 92.
Lots of desserty notes. I gave it a 90.5, so it had an average score of 91.25.
Okay. That sounds about right for where it ended up coming in the double check with number 7.
It held up at the double check too.
Okay. All right, well.
What's number 6?
At number 6, E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof Rye.
Now, this was my highest scored of the entire blind rye tasting. I gave it a 97, which is, I think, higher than I gave anything in the entire bourbon list. I really loved this one.
Yeah, I gave it a 91.5. I mean, I liked it too, but not quite the way you did. So that averaged out to be a 94.25.
It's interesting because both of our number 1 spots were taken by Buffalo Trace rye products.
Oh, that's true.
Consider that if you will. And you put the 18 higher, and you do like oak better than I do.
That is also true.
Something interesting.
I think we like proof the same though.
But yeah, we like proof the same. But I really like that E.H. Taylor barrel proof. On the nose, I put sticky toffee pudding, raisins, rich caramel, delicious dessert. On the palate, I put so full and rich, slightly earthy, a hint of lemon zest, with a delightful finish, a big Kentucky hug, and the palate notes just lingered on. So good.
Nose, I said savory, pine and oak and pepper. On the palate, I said dry black pepper, ripe fruit, spicy with an exclamation point, and berries. So yeah, that tracks. We do also have to thank, this is another one that we didn't have the bottle for. We have to thank our friend Tony for sending us a sample that we liked and had enough to put into the blind best of the year contention.
I wish I had some. I wish that's what was in my glass right now. But now
right.
I will really seriously be on the hunt for that E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof Rye.
Good luck.
From 2024.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed, maybe.
Good luck, says everyone.
Says everyone. We'll see. Maybe I can find it at a bar.
Yeah, maybe. Well, that takes us to the half-point list of the list.
Where we do our halftime show.
Yeah, the halftime show. And your entertainment is unfortunately us talking about plugs.
It has to happen.
I want to tell you about our home on the internet. It's whiskyambitions.com. It's where you can get the Glencairns that we're drinking from. This Rye or Die t-shirt available in gray and also in the green. It has this on the back. It says Rye or Die. The hat that I'm wearing, all of our glassware, our bottle cut candles, and our elemental elixir cocktail syrup, with more always coming soon at whiskyambitions.com.
And you can become a patron at patreon.com/itsbourbonnight and join our community for as little as $1 a month. In addition to, unique opportunities and discounts on that merch Chad was talking about, you also get access to our exclusive barrel picks. And we are in January, and we will be releasing 3 barrel picks at the minimum this month.
4 bottles worth.
3 bottles worth, maybe 4. We don't know. One's in February. It's okay, Chad. Keep up.
Oh, okay.
We had our Pursuit United. Speaking of Pursuit, in this episode, we did our double oak bourbon pick release this month and 2 Russell's Reserve barrel picks. Now we have more coming soon, but I don't know if they'll drop in January or February. But that's just a little taste.
Just a little taste.
What you get at patreon.com/itsbourbonnight.
Just a little taste. All right. We're going to take a little break. We'll be right back after this.
At number 5, Wild Turkey Master's Keep Triumph.
Now here's an underdog story.
I didn't see that one coming. Not on my radar.
And well, can you imagine 5 years ago saying a Master's Keep is an underdog story?
And not on your radar? Yeah.
Yeah. So this one in the blind scoring just came in at number 10. We gave it an average of 91 points. Mm-hmm. In the double check, as you can see clearly, now
that blind tasting,
it moved up to number 5. So that's how some things move up, some things move down.
Right. This one's tough. I think is this the most expensive retail price bottle on this whole list?
Retail, yeah.
I think it is.
I think it might be.
I mean, it's gonna be up there. Oh,
Sarah, I'll beep it.
Okay. But there's some other ones that might get up there, but not in retail price, mostly in secondary. So this is, I think, the highest retail price that we have on the list. And coming in at number 5, when I say if you're going to be the highest retail price, you better be the best. We did the blind taste test with this, and it came in at number 5. So take that for what you will.
All right.
On the nose, I said brownie edges and lemon zest with that chocolate, brown sugar, pepper, and firewood on the palate. Dang. And the pepper staying on the finish. It was a long finish.
On the nose, I said fruits, oak, and perfume. And then on the palate, I said more bourbonish, which makes sense, I think, with their more barely legal.
Rye.
Vanilla and rye spice.
Okay.
Yeah. Didn't have a lot to say because I actually scored it a little bit lower even than what the average came out to be. But that's how averages work.
Is that how that works?
That's how that works.
The mean.
Yes, the
not
mean.
The median. Not the median. And not the mode. Certainly not a box and whisker chart.
Certainly not. What's number 4?
At number 4, Pursuit United Sherry Revere Rye. That's a mouthful. That
part of the oak collection.
The oak collection, correct.
Add more to it.
A third Pursuit bottle in our top 10.
All 3 of them did make the top 10.
Wow.
Interesting, Sarah. This is the expression that won it all for us last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I had forgot. It had slipped my mind.
Yeah, it didn't do a repeat. It did come in fourth, but it did rather well in the blind scoring. So this is an instance where the double check, the side by side, actually took it down a few spots. An average score of 94.25. That would have been tied for first place.
Yep, I gave it a 96. So this was my second highest score of everything. Yeah, this was my second highest, that E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof. I really loved this one.
Yeah.
On the nose, I said spiced orange, cranberry orange muffin. They used to have these at Fresh Market, timeout. Then it had this crusty sugar baked on top, and I used to go get one every morning before work when I worked at a restaurant. Okay. And it reminded me of that on the nose. On the palate, I said coating, rich rye spice, slightly herbal, syrup, and with a syrupy texture. The finish, I said medium, delicate rye spice, gentle oak, and a building heat with a nice hug.
Okay. I didn't write as much. I said maple syrup, berries, and oak on the nose. On the palate, I said savory, maple syrup, vegetal, pine, and oak with a long finish.
Nice. This one was particularly lovely, in my opinion. I'm glad we have a full bottle of it.
Same. At number 3, Heaven Hill Grain to Glass Rye. So the Heaven Hill Grain to Glass series was a new series of 3 whiskeys, 2 of them of which were bourbons, and then the one rye. This is one I think was my second highest score on paper, as they say.
It was a two-way tie for fourth, I think, in the original blind
scoring, yes.
Average ranking. And again, in the double check, obviously things changed, but it didn't move very far from there, did it?
No, it didn't. And here we were thinking of those 3 grain to glass bottles that the weeded bourbon was our favorite. We really kind of overlooked that
Overlooked the rye. Shouldn't have done that. What'd you say?
Well, on the nose, it said dark milk chocolates, light cocoa beans, herbal, pepper, tea leaves, and that probably says heat. Either that or heart.
Or heart. Heart.
It's part of the Captain Planet.
Now, riddle me this. Was it dark or milk chocolate?
Dark milk chocolate, Sarah.
Oh, okay.
Well, I put a slash between them. Dark slash milk chocolate.
Unsure. Just some sort of chocolate.
Anyway, continuing. On the palate, I said little tropical, melon, honey, oak finish, pepper with a long finish.
I like that you actually wrote Lil. L-I-L, tropical. Lil tropical.
Like it's a rapper?
Space is sacred on these things. On the nose, I wrote brown sugar, allspice, vanilla with some earthiness. On the palate, I said plums and spice, vanilla, brown sugar, earthy richness, oak with a really decent mouthfeel. Really decent, you know?
Really decent.
Medium finish with the oak, spice, and fruit.
Lovely, lovely. Yeah, this one was a surprise. And
I had not written it off, but it wasn't in my consideration top of mind.
Right, for the $89 that it is. Some people are like, this seems to be a little bit overpriced, but then blind, it performs, which is what you want to see.
It did perform. At number 2, New Riff 8-year. Another New Riff 8-year. Well, I don't want to spoil it for you, but making it into the top 10
top
of
5
our best of lists. Top 5 of our best of lists, These were really showing up. We were very aligned on our scores here. You gave it a 93, I gave it a 93.5 for an average score of 93.25. However, then we did our double check, and the fact that, again, we already talked about the SAS 18 earlier and the things that it may have had working for or against it. It was up there with the New Riff 8-year, and the New Riff 8-year just went boop, 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 like just moved up,
moving on up to the east side.
That's right.
Sarah, what'd you get on the nose?
On the nose, I said chocolate, spice, fruit, and tobacco. Not so wordy on this one. On the palate, I said rich caramel, spice, oak, and alcohol-soaked fruit, so like boozy fruit. Like cherries or something. And the finish, I said medium long with a dry spice, chocolate, and tobacco.
All right.
I like this one. They're pretty classic.
I had more to say on this one actually. For the nose, I said rich, honey, oak, some leather, and baking spices. For the palate, I said bubble yum gum.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, honey, chocolate finish, dark cacao, oak, and little coffee.
Little coffee.
Now,
Chad, before we get to number 1, I do feel like we need to talk about, as we did in our bourbon episode, our staples that we put in to this episode that we kind of use as our benchmarks. We do score them, we put them in the blind, and we compare where they fell versus the ones that were actually considered, but because they're not 2024 releases, they're not actual contenders. We just like to know.
Agreed, yeah. So for the bourbon episode, we put in 5, but we had like 43 bourbons in contention. This one, I think we had 19 or 20 Ryes, so we put 3 Ryes in. Only one of those cracked the top 10, and that was actually Baby Saz is what it's affectionately known as.
Sazerac Rye.
Sazerac Rye. Now, here's the kicker, Sarah. You know how SAS 18 came in number 8?
Yes.
Baby Saz would have come in number 9.
Wow.
Right below it. Sazerac 18.
And then
Baby Saz.
Baby Saz. That's crazy. And again, that is with the blind scoring, but I mean, I think that just goes to show you what a good staple product that is to have, you know, on your bar cart for, like, I love Baby Saz for mixing drinks, mixing cocktails.
Yeah, even with the 90 proof, it still shines through.
I think it holds up with the rye, yeah.
We average scored it a 91.5.
Which is a really good score for a staple.
Yeah, the other 2 staples were both in the 87s.
Yeah, they did not.
They didn't perform
didn't crack the 90s
as well, but wow.
So,
and the great thing is we're now, because it used to not be on the shelf, and you would see it for secondary prices.
That's ridiculous.
But now it's actually reappearing out there in stores in several different markets that we travel to, so that's great.
Yeah, I feel like it's right around that $30 mark, which, you know, not completely, I don't think it's an unfair price for how good of a product it is. So if you haven't tried it, that'd be the value pick of Ryes to go out and go find. But since that wasn't actually number 9, that made our list what it is today. And now we are at number 1.
I need to get some more rye in my glass for this one. And our number 1 rye of the year, it's the Michter's 10-year.
I love Michter's 10-year rye, so this is not a surprise to me. So delicious, also coveted. Every time we go to Louisville to go to the Michter's distillery at Fort Nelson, we always go for the bar because we love the bar there. But everyone is always in there waiting outside the doors or just coming and going like, you guys got any 10-year? You guys got any 10-year?
It could be the bourbon, it could be the rye, it could be both.
Barrel strength, yeah. But the rye, I mean, I love them both, but I really love Michter's 10-year rye.
No, so that's the thing that I had to beep earlier in the episode when you said, well, the Michter's is what you said, because it's around $185 retail.
Right,
and
that is pricey.
Because it is kind of coveted, it can, kind of go for a secondary price. But again, good to see that the proof is in the pudding, the proof is in the bottle. Number 1 best rye blind. And, well, I should say, I mean, it was definitely in the top 10 blind scored, 93.85. It was actually in it wasn't in any tie. It would have been third.
It would have been third.
Because there was a tie for first.
Not even by a full point.
Right.
So in our average scores, 94.25 was our highest blind average score. This was a 93.875. So this is within a point of blind scoring average.
Half a point, yeah.
So, yeah, half a point. So it's like, okay, when we did the double check, it was like, this is the clear winner.
Yeah.
This one is really standing out and moved up. It's also, I think, the one that we're the most closely aligned on our scores. You gave it a 93.75. I gave it a 94, so a 0.25 points difference in between us. We both really love this one. I can't say enough nice things about it.
Keep talking about it, Sarah.
I shall. One moment, please. I didn't turn my page.
Well, then I'll go.
Okay.
I said on the nose, perfume, herbal, and eucalyptus. On the palate, I said honey, tea, great mouthfeel, and vanilla. I didn't have a whole lot to say, but I did score it like I had a whole lot to say.
That's right. On the nose, I said it kind of had some wine notes to it, but it obviously is not finished. But I got a lot of berry and cherry, some chocolate, those floral notes that you were getting. Very fragrant. With those things carrying through to the palate with some additional clove and char and a really good mouthfeel. That berry and clove and char lingered on the finish. And again, scored it really high. Love this one, could drink it all day. I marked it early on as like, oh, this is a favorite. As I was going through, I was like, I love this.
Look out for this one, right?
Yeah. So.
One that I'm glad that it's one that we have a bottle of, because that doesn't always happen in the first place spot.
Yeah,
but
we're very lucky.
Very lucky there. But yeah, a great rye, and it always is. It's one that you can count on. You might not win every year, but it's going to be in your top 10.
Yeah,
pretty regularly.
Well, what do you think about our list? What do you think about our blind scoring? What would have been your number 1?
What would you put in for staples?
Right, exactly. Just let us know your thoughts. I mean, we can't get our hands on every single rye that's out there, so we obviously haven't tried everything that you've tried, but what would have been your number 1, and what did we miss? Yeah, and as I was saying before, if you haven't subscribed to us already, you can do so by clicking right up here. There's suggestions of other videos down here. Hope to see you over there in one of those. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Chad.
Okay, until next time, drink more rye.